Hi, and thanks so much for joining me for this Luxury Beauty Starter Kit tag. Thank you so much to my friends here on YouTube, Michelle Wong and Angela Van Rose, for starting this tag. I thought it was such a wonderful idea, especially for those who are just starting in luxury beauty, because there are so many products out there. The investment is quite high, so you want to make sure what you are getting is good, especially if you're just starting out. And if you are very well versed in luxury beauty, I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. And if you have a channel, consider yourself tagged if you have not already done this video. Again, I think it's such a wonderful idea that I asked a friend of mine to join in on this video. So this is in collaboration with Abby Bliss White. She's a good friend of mine here on YouTube as well, and we've collaborated so many times over the years, and I would love to hear her thoughts on this anyway. If you're not familiar with Abby Bliss White, she focuses on luxury makeup, skincare, fragrance. She is very good at describing fragrances, so make sure to head over there if you have not already subscribed and watched her videos. And if you've headed over from Abby's channel, thank you so much for joining us. I focus on luxury makeup, skincare, fashion as well, and vlogs every once in a while, especially when I travel or if my mom is around or my sister. I know you love seeing both of them in the vlogs. I will make sure to film something at that time. But let's go ahead and get started. The first question is, where should someone start when it comes to luxury makeup? And you could look at this in a lot of different ways. So you could start out with a category like foundation, concealer, blush, etc. Or you could look at a brand. But in this case, I'm going to start with resources. There are so many wonderful YouTube channels out there featuring luxury beauty now. So when I first started doing this, there weren't very many of us, but now there are so many more people and so much representation. So my advice to you is to find someone with an aesthetic that you like. You like the way they apply their makeup. Maybe you find someone with the same coloring as you. That might be another aspect. You might find someone with the same skin type. So if you're dry, combo, oily, those kinds of things, those will be factors in how products perform on you. Also, the age also has an influence on the way products perform. Like, I am going to be 50 this year, so my skin has changed over the years, and the demands of makeup are now different and also higher. I demand more of my products. They really need to perform. So those are the things that I would suggest to you. And once you've found those people whose coloring, skin type, etc. are like yours, I'd also expand your lens and look for people who maybe don't look exactly like you, but might have some really inspiring techniques or ways that they combine colors. Because of that, I think YouTube now offers so much experience and places where other people have made mistakes or invested maybe not well that you can learn from, so you don't have to make those expensive mistakes, because luxury beauty can be quite the investment. So especially starting out, it's a little bit discouraging to purchase high-priced items and then they don't perform or they don't look good on you. So do that homework. Look for things that people love across various channels as well. So if there's one product that repeatedly is spoken highly about, it will probably work really well on you. And it is interesting to look at the same product amongst different channels, and you'll get different opinions as well. It is also interesting to note that the same product can get very high and very low reviews at the same time. So look at what it is that that person is using to analyze that product, whether again it's their skin type, or maybe the shade was off, or maybe they have different things they're looking for in the way makeup performs. So think about those things as you watch these channels, because I think one of my mistakes was that I was looking at people when I started watching YouTube that were not my age. So especially the foundation and powder products weren't performing the same. I was looking at people's coloring that wasn't like mine, and then when I got, especially it was lipstick that kept happening. I purchased lipstick and it would not look the same on me because the undertone was different, because the color to my lips was different. Also, I've got color to my lips already, so that's another thing I look for when I look for lipsticks. So just so many factors. But I also found some really great channels of people who didn't look at all like me, but inspired me to try new products, new techniques, and new color combinations. So there's so much out there. It's a great wealth of information for very little investment on the viewer's side. The only thing that you might have to contend with are the ads that are embedded in the videos. But aside from that, I think there's such a wealth of information out there that you should definitely take advantage of. I will list a lot of the channels that I'm subscribed to in case you'd like to see those as well. Is there anything they should stay away from? So if you're new to luxury beauty, I would stay away from brand new releases just because it takes a minute for people to figure out how something will work in their routine, if something will work, even if the first impression is really good. Is it something that this person will come back to time and time again and use all the way up? So for me, a good investment is a product that you use daily or almost daily that is very reliable, performs consistently, I guess that's reliable, and something that is purchased over and over again. So actually that's the premise of my channel if you are new here. Every day I'm editing products in and out of the routine with the goal of finding the best of the best. So you see a lot of the same things repeated because those are the things that I count on, like the SISLEY Concealer, like the PRAIRIE Concealer, like Clé de Peau, like the CHANTECAILLE Blur Powder. Those are staples of mine and things that I measure new things against. So those are things I would highly recommend without a doubt. New products, especially first impression, it's hard to say how much that product will be used, even if it's something I like or if it's something someone else likes. It's hard to say if they will keep returning to that product and get its full use. So unless it's limited edition, which some limited edition items are really gorgeous and you want to make sure to pick those up. Usually those will be things like eyeshadow palettes or blushes, things like that. So watch those reviews carefully. But in terms of new products that are going to be permanent to that line, for a while at least, I would wait to see what people think, to see how much they return to that product and see if they repurchase it. If you could only purchase one category of luxury makeup for the rest of your life, what would that be? Okay, so this is a category, so I'm assuming it's like foundation, concealer, eyeshadow, blush. This should probably not be a surprise to regular viewers. I would choose concealer because concealer is one of those things that if I don't have foundation, I can actually make it work. I can make it look like my skin is even without any foundation. If I used foundation and no concealer, I would still need more. Yeah, I could not build up that foundation well in the areas where I need it in order for it to look flawless. I can make it look flawless with concealer and like a pretty good powder, but the concealers that I use are luxury beauty level concealers that have no competition. They're that good. So I won't risk that. Concealers. Concealers are the most powerful category of luxury beauty that I've found so far because the under eye concealer I use does not require powder, so it doesn't look makeup-y. And that's hard to find, even with luxury beauty concealers. Some need to be set. The ones I use, SISLEY, PRAIRIE, do not require setting, so you get a more natural look under the eye. As for my face concealer, Clé de Peau is gorgeous, very skin-like. I love it because it has SPF 2 and it also has a brightening ingredient in it now, so it also works on those darker areas. So that's why I won't compromise with my concealers. What is one luxury makeup brand you would recommend for someone starting out? There are so many lovely brands out there, and you could look at it a couple of different ways, I think. So there are some that have a vast array of offerings. So for me, a vast array is very overwhelming. For instance, something like Chanel, lovely, beautiful products. There are so many of them, especially in the foundation category. I'm working through every foundation this year by Chanel. I think I've gotten through maybe half of them so far. Still learning about them, trying to figure out the best for my skin type versus dry versus oily. So there are so many options, which can be great. Their shade range is really great too. But it's a little bit confusing if you're not familiar with everything. It would take a lot of videos to watch to figure out which foundation I think alone would be good, let alone things like palettes and blushes. There are just so many. So I actually wouldn't recommend that because as much as I love Chanel, I would recommend something smaller where each of the products are highly curated. done very, very well. That's another thing about larger lines is sometimes you get that inconsistency. Sometimes they're really phenomenal products and sometimes they're products like, they're okay. And it takes a long time to weed through all of those to figure out what's the best. So if you go with a company that has a smaller selection, it's a little bit easier to navigate. And if they have a smaller selection, usually those things are done very, very well. So I'm going to say CHANTECAILLE simply because in my experience, almost everything of theirs has been so high performing that I'm really, really disappointed with them. So for instance, their foundations, they have 3. They have the Future Skin Gel, which is a very sheer, non-detectable, undetectable foundation. You can apply it, it evens out skin tone, doesn't cover your skin, but just has a beautiful finish, makes it look better. You need a little bit of concealer if you've got dark spots like me, but just the most beautiful way to show off the skin. Then you have another level with their tinted moisturizer, just a little bit of SPF, but the performance of that is the same as the Future Skin in that these look beautiful all day long. And then you've got the new foundation, or the newer one as of last year. They have a cushion foundation, which has the most coverage, but still a very thin veil of foundation. Still not heavy on the skin, but provides a flawless finish. So all 3 of those have shown up in my top foundations at some point. So you can't go wrong there. Their eyeshadows are beautiful. Their blushes are beautiful. It's kind of like pick something, it's going to work really well. So that's why I would suggest going with a company that has fewer yet highly curated products, because they will most likely be very, very good. So I'm gonna go with CHANTECAILLE on that one. What is one luxury makeup brand you would tell someone to stay away from? Okay, so this might surprise you because I love so many products from this brand. They're my holy grail for so many things, like under eye concealer, like bronzer. What else is a holy grail from this brand? So those are a couple things I can think of right now. I don't know why I can't think of something else right now. I'm sure I have other things, but it's SISLEY. And the reason I say SISLEY is not because they don't have some really beautiful products. Some of their products are, I don't know, they're more inconsistent when it comes to performance. I don't love every single thing from SISLEY. Their price point is quite high on everything. So the access point is a little bit higher for SISLEY. So if you make a mistake with SISLEY, it's an expensive mistake. And there are reasons I haven't purchased SISLEY mostly online. It's because their swatches are notoriously very unclear. And I don't know why, but I can't ever get a handle on the foundation shade. I've made a mistake 2 or 3 times now on their foundations. I still don't really know what shade I am in their foundation. Yeah, I've spent a lot of money making mistakes with SISLEY. So that would be my main reason to not purchase from them. I don't know why the swatches are so hard to decipher, but that's what I hesitate on with them. And I don't return products, so that's partly my fault, but I don't want to purchase something and have it not work and then it just sits here, because that's what ends up happening. Because I know when I return product, it just goes to the garbage anyway. I'd rather just hold on to it and have it as like a non-example, I guess. So surprisingly, although I love their concealer, their bronzer, I would say SISLEY. Because unless you have a counter near you, and they're a little bit harder to find, I would not order online. If you're not sure exactly of what shade you need, I wouldn't risk it, because I've made too many SISLEY mistakes with products that are the wrong shade. And again, some of their products are great, some of them are not so great, but all of the price points are high. So expensive mistakes with SISLEY. What's one makeup brand you wish you tried sooner? And this might be surprising because I have so much of this brand. It's Chanel. I did not get into Chanel until, I'm gonna say, about 2 years ago. I have so many of their palettes now, again, going through their foundations. I wish I had started sooner because they tend to release things more frequently, and I try to reference them to previous products or some other foundation in their current line, and I don't have enough experience with all of their products yet. I'm getting there, but I wish I had started earlier so that I had that base of reference points for when new things came in, so I could do a better comparison. But definitely getting a handle on it now, but that is the one that I wish I started earlier. Would you recommend spending money on makeup or skincare? I would recommend, hands down, skincare. If you have seen my videos from the beginning, you've seen the improvement with my skin from 6 years, we're almost 6 years in, about 6 years ago. and how long it took me to conceal these areas. It took a long time. It took 30 to 45 minutes just to deal with the front of my face because there's discoloration, big patches of discoloration, not just a little, but severe discoloration. So it would be concealer, color corrector, concealer, color, it would be lots of layers. I learned a lot through that process with color correction, with concealing, which ones perform the best, especially on texture. I learned a lot. Long story short, makeup is much more fun for me now to apply versus back then because it was such a chore to get the makeup even before I could even start with something like blush or eyeshadow. It was just trying to get an even canvas first. And with skincare, that is the only reason why makeup is more fun for me now, is because I'm not spending that time dealing with the discoloration. It was very frustrating, and I do credit my skincare routine with all of that improvement because I don't go to any clinics or anything like that. I did not get laser done to my skin. I've had suggestions for that before. So because of my heritage, I was cautioned that with laser, there was the possibility that these could actually get worse, and I did not want that. So I've been doing topical skincare for the past 5-6 years to get to this point. So yes, long story short, skincare. Because as good as your makeup is, that skin takes up your whole face, and that's what you're using as your canvas. So there's only so much you can correct, especially with texture when it comes to makeup. So I would definitely invest in really good skincare and SPF. SPF for sure. Why do you personally love luxury makeup? So actually I did not start out focusing solely on luxury makeup. It was viewers, thank you so much for helping me with that, who kept saying there are so many channels out there featuring other kinds of makeup. Please focus on luxury beauty because there are not that many channels at that time focusing on it. So that's what drove this path really on the luxury beauty, and now I feel like I'm pretty well versed in it because I have more experience. Along the way, I really do still get excited about these launches because of the experience from the unboxing of the products. That in and of itself is an experience, which is why I film those, so that people can also experience that if they just want to see what the makeup looks like. So that includes everything from the packaging to the actual performance of the makeup. So I think that luxury that is more accessible through makeup is what the experience is all about, because if you talk about luxury clothing, bags, things like that, that's a much higher price point. But when you talk about luxury makeup, it is something you can definitely access a little bit easier. Okay, next question. Should luxury makeup brushes be invested in? And this makes me think of my dad, because when I was in, I think it was middle school, I played the flute from 4th grade all the way through high school. So lots of years of playing the flute. And I wanted a Gemeinhardt, which was an open hold flute, solid silver. Yeah, I think it was around middle school that I decided I wanted this flute. And my dad said, you need to practice and practice and practice until you're, pretty proficient at this. Then you can get the Gemeinhardt. Because he talked about these kids he went to school with who had the fanciest books and pencils and shiny instruments, but they couldn't play the instrument and they didn't study or do well in school. So he said, you've got to be able to perform at that level and then you can get the instrument. So I kind of feel the same way about makeup brushes if you're just starting out with makeup. Because makeup brushes are an investment, I feel like practicing with makeup application with brushes that aren't as expensive, but will do the job. And then you can narrow down the shapes that you want. So it took me a while to figure out that it's smaller eye brushes that I needed to be working with, because I was investing in some really nice Ray Morris brushes for the eyes, but they were so large for my eyes. That's why I wasn't getting the results I wanted. So that would be an example of waiting to invest in brushes. They definitely make a difference. I can tell the difference between inexpensive brushes versus luxury brushes in terms of performance, but I really feel like you need to know what shape, what size, what types of brushes you pull for more often than not. But I do feel like you need to know which ones to invest in because there are so many out there. So learning from my mistake of investing in brushes that were too large for my eyes, that was a wasted investment because I don't use them. Also watch other videos because people will let you know which ones are really great. Should luxury perfumes be invested in? I think it really depends on how much you love fragrance. So I learned a lot about fragrance because of this channel, because I was lucky enough to work with some really wonderful companies that produce high-end luxury fragrances. And now I appreciate them so much more. So I think it depends on your level of appreciation. For me now, luxury fragrances are an investment that's worth it to me because I do appreciate the notes and the way things wear. Just the complexity doesn't mean that it's heavy, but the complexity that comes along with luxury fragrances. Designer or niche perfumes. To me, designers, like, they have a whole range of things. Like Tom Ford has clothing, makeup, fragrance. Who else? Gucci has clothing, makeup, fragrance. So in my experience, I've had more luck with niche fragrances. And CHANTECAILLE, actually, I believe they started with fragrance. They are one of my favorites when it comes to fragrances because they're so wearable, but very sophisticated. So I love theirs. Twisted Lily's another great place, another company that I've worked with. I also have a discount code if you're interested, but they carry some beautiful niche fragrances because niche fragrance houses focus just on fragrance. So to me, anything, and I said it earlier, when it comes to niche items and highly curated collections, I spoke about that earlier, what tends to happen is that there's a hyper focus on that product or very few products, making them very, very good. So I love that with anything, whether it's bread or cookies or flowers. If that's the one thing they focus on, they tend to do it really, really well. So I found with niche fragrances, that tends to be the case. They are hyper focused on those and they are typically very, very good. Where is the best place to shop when getting started? So I think YouTube, again, is a really great place to start because just like a department store, you see luxury beauty YouTube creators focusing on not just one brand, but several brands. So it's almost like a department store with a lot of advice. So you get to see the products swatch, you get to see them on, you get to hear the comparisons. So I would start there, and there are affiliate links if you're new to YouTube. Typically, a YouTube creator has affiliate links, whether it's mine, someone else's. If you click on it, they get a small percentage of that sale, which also helps the creator invest more in their channel, and they're able to bring you more colors, more offerings of a launch that maybe they wouldn't normally pick up because of that investment. So that's one great place to start. If you're going to a department store, I like Nordstrom just because they have so many different offerings online as well as in store, and there tend to be more Nordstroms out there. So I feel like I see more Nordstroms than others, I'm not sure, but I feel like they're more prevalent and they offer a pretty good range. If you are global, Selfridges tends to get early releases. So that's one of the reasons why I shop there with the $55 shipping, although I had a thing happen recently where there was this really high import tax added on, which was the first time I noticed it. I hope that has not been happening to me in the past, but there was a really high import tax, so I'm gonna watch that as well. But they come out with a lot of releases earlier than anyone else. Actually, I had that question. Someone asked, why are people in the US and Canada ordering from Selfridges when they are based in the UK? And that's why. They release items early and sometimes the price point is lower. But now with this tax, I don't know. So I wouldn't rely on that, but that is a reason why. So they have a really nice selection, at least online. So I would start there. Those are good places. But again, YouTube is a really wonderful place to start because you'll get lots of options for where you can shop for prices. And people will typically let you know when there's a sale. So like on my community tab, I'll let you know there's a sale at this place. And it's various retailers, but it's the same product. So that's another great resource out there as well. If you only had $200, what would you buy? So I actually thought about this and I changed my mind a couple times because I really had to think about this. $200 in luxury beauty doesn't get you very far, but I thought about what was offered in the luxury beauty realm that I can't find anywhere else, because like an eyebrow pencil, I probably could find in a non-luxury beauty space. I would have to look really hard, but I could probably find something. So I'd start with the Clay to Peau Concealer for just my face. So that one costs, let's see. So that is one of the first things, that's $75. So that's almost half my budget, but that's okay because I'm willing to invest in that because that's how much I rely on concealer. That's how much it makes a difference. That's how much I don't think I could find anything comparable anywhere else. Whether it was in the luxury brand world or not, I have not been able to find anything to compare. The second thing would be the CHANTECAILLE Perfect Blur Powder. And that has made such a difference with my makeup ever since I started using it. I use those products pretty much daily and in every video. So those two things, and that one is $79. So I've already spent most of my budget on those, but that's okay. I've got not very much money left. I'm not sure, actually, I didn't think this far ahead. I knew it was going to be the PEAU concealer and the blur powder. So for under eye, I love the SISLEY Concealer, but I don't have enough in my budget to get that. So I would use the PEAU in a pinch. I still is quite dry under the eye for me. That would be my next one if I had enough in my budget to spend, but I don't because that's quite pricey. So I only have $46 left. So I didn't think about this. Let me think. Okay, I thought about it and this fits in my budget. The other thing I thought was this brush because it makes that really wonderful concealer even better. It's the PRAIRIE Concealer brush, which is $40. So that gets me in under $200, I'm pretty sure. That's a very, very difficult question though. But I'm gonna say the concealer and the powder are two of my most repurchased items. So going back to the idea of what is someone purchasing over and over again, those would be two of the things that I would say would be amazing investments because I go through them time and time again. And those are things that you can find on sale because they are not limited edition and they're not Chanel. Chanel never goes on sale or rarely goes on sale. So those you can also find on a promo every once in a while. What was your first luxury makeup purchase? Did you regret it? My first luxury makeup purchase that I can remember in my more current, I guess within the last 10 years, my sister and I went to Space NK in the Mill Valley area and they had, actually we stumbled upon that store and it was right when I was getting into luxury makeup and they had so many things that I had only seen online. So it was so fun to see them in person. They had By Terry, they had Hourglass. So I picked up some By Terry and Hourglass and I picked up By Terry's Sunny Flash. I also picked up a lipstick of theirs that I think I still have. It was one of the prettiest colors. It kind of was like this color. Lovely formula and I think an ambient lighting powder, which is one of the reasons I got into YouTube because I couldn't figure out how to use it. I purchased it and it was like, do I put this on my whole face? I didn't find directions. I was looking all over the internet for how do I use this amazing sounding product. And it was, oh, I think it was one of the first videos I did was how to use that powder or the impact it had because I was looking for a blurring effect. So no, I don't regret buying any of those products. Those were some of my favorite products to use. And now I'm using the CC serum in Apricot Glow. So I still love that product. I still use the Hourglass ambient lighting powders. Love those. And By Terry lipsticks I haven't tried in a while, but I really loved that one. So no, I don't regret them. And I thought they were really good investments. What's your biggest luxury makeup regret? Oh boy. So this is a fairly new regret. When I first saw this list, I thought, I don't know if I really have anything. I mean, the things that I regret always in general are foundations that are the wrong shade match. I always regret those because I can't really test them out. I mean, you can kind of see the texture and how they'll wear, but I'm always thrown off if it's especially too deep for me because then it just looks, it doesn't look good. If it's lighter, it's okay. That's why I tend to go for, if I'm never sure, I go for the lighter shade because I can always work with that versus a darker shade. I can't really work around that because then it's just really the wrong shade in the center of my face because I have so many shades on my face. So that's one thing. But most recently it was the Hermes. If you've been here before, I don't really like talking about products or companies in a non-positive light. I try to just provide my experience, but I'm not comfortable talking about products that I don't like. But I also feel like, especially in that one, it was really apparent how it looked. It didn't even look good on my skin. So I tried to bring the facts to you and my experience to you without speaking negatively about any product or company. But in this case, I have to say that this, just because of everything I went through to get the product and the very, very high expectations around it, and the fact that the way it performed, and I tried it again. I did try it again and I will continue to try it, but my skin actually looked better without it on. So that really told me that's not doing much for my skin. And I can usually work with products. That's another reason you don't see fail products on my channel, because I can usually find a way to get them to work. They might not be my favorite, but I can usually get them to work. This one is one that I can't really figure out how to get it to work for me, but I consider that a challenge now to get this to work for me. So I will continue to try this out, see if it performs any better on my skin in the summer when I'm not as dry. Yeah, my skin is really dry right now, but that's probably one of the biggest ones. Yeah, that would be my biggest one recently. Yeah, so that's why you don't typically see fail videos on my channel. I might have a fail here or there, but I don't think I've ever done an entire fail video. So that's why I let people know that even though a product might not work for me at that time, it doesn't mean it won't work for someone else or it won't work for me in the future. And at the end of the day, I know that there are people behind these products. Someone's investing their time and effort and signing off on this product as, yes, this is good to go to market. So in my mind, I assume good intentions when these products are put on the market, and that's where I start from. So even if I don't love a product, I try to stay as objective and just share my experience with everyone. Okay, and I think that is it for the luxury beauty starter tag. So that was really fun to kind of think about all the things I've tried and where everything falls, and I thought the questions were really good. So again, make sure to head over to Abby's channel if you haven't seen her video already. I'm really curious to hear her thoughts. It's been so fun to see everybody else's. And now that I've done mine, I will watch other ones. So that's another thing I do. I try not to watch videos on products that I'll be featuring so that I'm not influenced by someone else's thoughts. But now I'll go ahead and tune into those videos myself and check them out. And again, if you have a channel, consider yourself tagged. And a huge thank you to Abby Bliss White for collaborating with me on this. And that is it for today's video. So please take care of each other, stay well. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time.